With the BTS members gradually enlisting in the military since December 2022, there wasn't much happening with the group for a while until recently when all hell broke loose. Being as big as they are, there's no way for BTS to do anything without it being turned into a big deal, whether that's for positive or negative reasons. Namjoon doing something as simple as sharing a Frank Ocean song on his Instagram stories can lead to accusations of him being Islamophobic, which became an actual issue that was discussed worldwide. Since the members also released music during their time in the military, there were different claims of plagiarism, preferential treatment, and fraudulent numbers. Such was the case of Jimin's latest release, which was his album Muse with the title track Who. The song was especially a massive success. A few days after its release, Who quickly climbed the streaming charts, eventually reaching the top spot on Spotify's daily global charts. On July 26th, it debuted at number 4 on the UK singles chart, marking Jimin's highest charting solo track in the UK. In the United States, Who entered the Billboard Hot 100 at number 14, and in its second week, it peaked at number 12. During its first week, it managed to garner 90.5 million streams and sell 129,000 copies worldwide, debuting at number 1 on the Billboard Global 200. It also topped the global excluding US chart with 76 million streams and 76,000 sales outside the US. It did especially well on Spotify, as it has been at the top of the global Spotify chart for more than 20 days. Fans were obviously happy for his success, but this made a lot of people wonder how much of this success was organic. For every day that the song spends on the global Spotify chart, there are people who claim that they have never heard the song, so the position does raise eyebrows. If Who was placing above worldwide hits like Sabrina Carpenter's Espresso or Billie Eilish's Birds of a Feather, how come it didn't have the mainstream success that these two had? However, a lot of fans argued that people were seriously undermining the size and power of the fandom. If the fans were the only ones listening to the song on Spotify, they would still get millions and millions of streams just from that alone. In addition to that, Spotify has started removing bots, which has resulted in a lot of songs losing millions of streams, but Who has still remained at the top spot on the chart. It would absolutely be suspicious if BTS were smaller artists coming out of nowhere, but considering that Jimin is one of the most popular members, to the point that even non-stans have heard of him, it shouldn't be that far-fetched to think that he would have millions of people streaming his music on the regular. A second issue that has gotten a lot of attention is the screening of Jungkook's documentary, Jungkook, I Am Still in Israel. Ever since October 7th of last year, stans have been pushing HYBE to divest from Zionism, which includes the dismissal of HYBE America's CEO Scooter Braun due to his ties to Israel and not screening the artist's documentaries there. This has led netizens to criticize HYBE for releasing Jungkook I Am Still in Israel, especially given the ongoing situation in Palestine. Israel is also often labeled an apartheid state because of its illegal occupation and control over Palestinian territories, making this release feel particularly unethical to many people. However, considering that HYBE hasn't listened to these demands in the past, it seems like they're unfortunately going to be ignored even now, but fans are refusing to give up their fight, not wanting their favorite members to be associated with anything related to Israel. As mentioned, there have been a few controversies here and there, but undoubtedly the biggest scandal that the group faced was Yoongi's DUI incident. On August 7th, it was reported by Yonhap News that Yoongi was going to be investigated by the police for riding an electric kickboard when he was under the influence of alcohol. The report said that Yoongi had tried to get back home on the scooter after he had a few drinks, but he ended up falling. Some police officers nearby saw the whole thing and came to help him up, which is when they noticed the smell of alcohol on him. According to the media, he was then sent to a nearby police station. The incident didn't sound serious initially since there were no mentions of anyone injured and because he had been riding a kickboard. However, since DUIs are a pretty serious offense everywhere, the netizens were both shocked and outraged at the news, so both the agency and Yoongi himself had no choice but to address the issue. Big Hit Music was the first to put out a statement explaining that Yoongi had gotten on the kickboard drunk so he could ride home. They emphasized that he was wearing a helmet and had only moved for about 500 meters. Big Hit also revealed that the police did a breathalyzer test on him, which then resulted in a fine and his license being cancelled. In addition, while the media report said that he was taken to a police station, Big Hit basically refuted this, saying that he was actually taken home under police custody. The agency once again confirmed that there were no property damages and no one was injured. In the end, they apologized for the disappointment that Yoongi's actions caused and said that he would receive appropriate disciplinary action. Yoongi himself wrote an apology on Weverse, where he explained that he had been drinking at dinner before he decided to ride the kickboard home. He went on, "I violated the Road Traffic Act due to my complacent thinking that it was a short distance and my failure to recognize that using an electric scooter while intoxicated was prohibited." He confirmed once again that he fell down when he was parking the kickboard in front of his house, where the police had him take a breathalyzer test and canceled his license. He said that he wasn't wasn't going to make any excuses for his actions, apologize to everyone, and promised to be more careful in the future. However, even though the apologies were as clear as they could be, people still started having doubts about certain parts of it. First of all, the vehicle was described as an electric scooter with a seat in a lot of reports, not just as a kickboard, which caused confusion. While DUIs are always serious, the vehicle that Yoongi was riding on the night of the incident was crucial to determine whether he was in danger of injuring someone else or not. Not only that, but it would mean that both Big Hit and Yoongi framed the situation in a way that would downplay the gravity of it. There were also a lot of accusations as people went on to question whether he had really traveled only 500 meters, whether he had really fallen in front of his house, or whether he really had a few drinks. With so many articles coming out painting unconfirmed information as the truth, the public had unanimously agreed that Yoongi was the guilty party on all of this and that he was lying. Then JTBC started releasing CCTV footage showing someone who they claimed to be Yoongi riding the vehicle. Even though the footage was so blurry that you couldn't see anything, netizens and the media had already determined that he had indeed been riding a scooter, not a kickboard as he had claimed. The location shown on the CCTV was also much further than 500 meters from Yoongi's home, which made him and the company seem like liars once again. So, to growing suspicions and widespread criticism, HYBE had to step in with a second statement to manage the situation. First, they clarified that they hadn't intended to minimize the seriousness of the accident, but had mistakenly used the wrong term, explaining that they referred to the vehicle as an electric kickboard simply because it had a seat. After a closer look, they acknowledged that how a vehicle is classified depends on its features, which in turn affects the legal implications of any incidents. They emphasized there was no attempt to downplay what happened, as the vehicle was indeed a kickboard, albeit one with a saddle. They also admitted to using incorrect wording when discussing the investigation. HYBE further explained that after Yoongi completed the breathalyzer test, he went home assuming incorrectly, along with the company, that the matter was settled, not realizing there were additional steps in the investigation. They assured the public of their full cooperation with any further police investigations and expressed their apologies once again for the incident. Again, these were the only statements that were released that contained actual confirmed information. However, different reports started circulating, with people taking unverified guesses as facts, even though nothing had been confirmed by the police. For example, one report said that Yoongi had told the police officers that he had had one drink, which didn't coincide with the fact that he got his license canceled. The truth is that the amount that he drank was never confirmed by anyone, and the journalist who wrote the report cited himself as the source. There was also the news that the police confirmed his blood alcohol content was 7 times over the legal limit, or to be more precise, 0.227%, which would be the highest among celebrities with DUI cases. Even if the police didn't come out to debunk this though, this couldn't be factually true. If his blood alcohol content was actually that high, he would be severely disoriented. He would be numb to pain and might even lose consciousness. The police did also address these claims though, as they told a reporter that the blood alcohol wasn't confirmed and that every claim that was made in regards to that was a mere speculation. However, it was these misinformations that got the spotlight, enraging the netizens and even having fans asking for his withdrawal from the group. The worst part of it was when on August 13th, Yonhap News aired alleged CCTV footage of Yoongi in which he can be seen speeding down the main road before he fell down. Seeing as this went against both statements, the reaction was immediate. Yoongi and HYBE were both condemned for lying in their statements, and the demand for his withdrawal grew even more. Even though the CCTV was questioned by fans, especially since you could barely see who it was, others brushed off these suspicions. After all, what would JTBC or Yonhap News gain by taking CCTV footage of random people and pretending that it was a member of the biggest group in the world? But it seems like this was the case. Just a day later, Donga Ilbo published clear footage of the incident, which now showed Yoongi riding a kickboard down the sidewalk. He wasn't going fast like it was claimed by the other CCTV footage, and he was riding in a straight line, which would disprove the claims of him having a high blood alcohol content. He even passes by the police officers that dealt with him, and they paid him no mind, which means that he wasn't going dangerously quick. He then makes a sharp turn in front of 91 Hanam, which causes him to fall, but he gets up immediately and grabs his helmet before he gets approached by the police officers. Yoongi looks very clear-headed as he does so, which raises the question of where all those reports even came from in the first place. It was said that Yoongi was so out of it that he had been found lying on the sidewalk by the police officers, which wasn't true, and that he was so out of it that he could barely answer any questions, which was also untrue. Donga Ilbo also confirmed that he had indeed been 500 meters away from his house since he had drunk with some acquaintances near the Hanam intersection, but then went to his studio, which is where he went to his house from. The media outlet also basically called JTBC liars because their footage showed the person riding to Namsan rather than his home. Unfortunately, the misinformation didn't stop there, as there were claims that he also neglected his army duties, that he had negatively impacted the other soldiers, that he would get 5 years in prison, and so on and so on. The media purposefully spread this information, sometimes even changing the titles of wrongful articles and deleting them without making much noise or an apology. It seems like they're enjoying the whole thing and want to blow things out of proportion just for a few clicks. The way they gathered in front of the police station to hound him despite nobody even confirming that he was going to show up in the first place shows this best. It's clear from how this case has been handled so far that the police seem unsure of how to proceed, especially since they have just begun questioning him, even though it's been nearly 20 days since the incident initially happened. On August 23rd, he finally attended his questioning and completed his first police investigation. Even though he was asked tons of questions about the investigation, including the amount that he had drunk, his blood alcohol concentration, and the demands for him to leave the group, he didn't answer and instead apologized in front of the reporters. He said, "I deeply apologize for the pain and disappointment caused by my wrongful actions. I am very regretful and will ensure that such an incident does not happen again. I apologize to all those who have supported me. Hopefully this situation will wrap up quickly."